Do you want to learn to dress better? Do you want to be inspired by somebody who is giving their best when they were at their worst? Do you want to learn how to match colors and textures? Do you want to learn how to take your sartorial game to the next level and then even the next level without breaking the bank? Do you want to dress like $1,000,000 even when you don't have $100? Stay tuned. All right, so let's go.
Hello everybody, it's Robert Powers.
4.5 out of 5.
My shoe collection.
These are made of shell cordovan.
Can you tell the difference? Now here they are finished up.
I'm not a professional.
Look how tight this is though.
Very clearly here, I just cut the thread in half. And here they are, all finished up.
Would you mind sharing why you started posting your outfits of the day?
So I had started this business and it was a long haul to make it viable. And we had like finally kind of arrived because we had gotten like, we'd had the best month we'd ever had. We'd gotten the largest check. And then the pandemic hit. In 1 month, 800 trips. And in April of 2020, we did 4.
800 to 4.
We haven't had time to like put a lot of savings, and that's, for a company that's got, tens of thousands of dollars in overhead. And then all of a sudden you have $200 in revenue in a 2-week period. It's a pretty sobering thought. It was a pretty scary time. Mm-hmm. But, the tendency to like just sit around and wonder, what are we going to do was real. So I forced myself to get up every day and either whether it was a suit or a V-neck, by the way, an Oxford cloth button down and a V-neck sweater is kind of my casual uniform. Mm-hmm. This is kind of like my favorite style. It always has been. So this is what I wear. I forced myself and, pairing the watch, pairing the belt, the shoes, everything, the hair, doing that same routine because I was afraid of getting into the routine of not doing that and giving up.
Right.
So part of posting was a selfish thing. 2 was I made myself post every day. I told myself I'm going to post every day until somebody gets tired of this and tells me to stop. We're tired of seeing your mug in the feed every day.
Walking out. Powerful on so many levels, the self-discipline. I mean, so think about that. You got nowhere to go, nobody to drive, nowhere you have to be. And the first thing you do in the morning is put on a suit and in a sharp looking outfit with a pocket square. Like, wow, that's, and you did it with such consistency. You inspired me when I thought you were doing it because you were on top of the world,
Through a couple of those posts, I interacted with a fellow. His name's David Ambrico, and he has a clothing brand, and he's super sharp all the time. Always has all the details together, and he designs and has his own clothing label. And we started talking about shoes, and it was a big deal for me to reach out to him because we had interacted on the forum about clothes, shoes, whatever. But like I saw some things he wore, and it was a little outside my box. It was like mixing textures and patterns. And I remember I was like, can you actually wear a window pane coat with a striped shirt, or is that too much? And he's like, no, I think I love mixing patterns and textures and stuff like that. And it forced me, I give him a lot of credit to force me to go outside of my box a little bit. Mm-hmm. I always try to never wear the same suit, shirt, tie, and pocket square combo the same way.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I have a navy suit and I have a shirt that I like wearing with it. I may wear that suit and shirt again, but not the same tie or not the same pockets, Right. But now, I was a little conservative in my, if it's a checked or plaid shirt, I can't wear it with a patterned tie. You got to have a solid tie.
Right.
But then as I talked about breaking some of the sartorial rules, and I thought, well, maybe I can. So we started this chat, and of course we've become good friends. I actually went to Seattle, Washington to do an Instagram influencer charity event for in I think it was June. Got to meet a couple other people. J.A. Shapira, who is a sartorial genius. I actually kind of started putting the whole thing together, and then David joined in, and Leonard Erskine, and we and you know, and there it is, more friends that I've kept in touch with, and you know, but this kind of thing developed. But I noticed that one of David's taglines or things he likes to say is, because dressing well is good business.
I love it. I love it.
And that I kind of took that as well.
Right.
And, you know, like you said, nowhere to go, nowhere to drive, but I went to try to one of the internet entrepreneurs who's been very successful. It's a client of mine, said, you know, find things, find a need and try to fill it. So I called people and volunteered to go grocery shopping for them. If they didn't want to leave their house, you know what I mean? People weren't going anywhere. So, you know, cars don't make money sitting still. And I needed to see some revenue. So some of the few jobs I then got the next month were, I was taking people's, I mean, obviously they're fairly wealthy clientele, but I was going grocery shopping in a suit.
Oh, I love it.
And delivering their groceries.
I'm sure they didn't mind it either. I mean, you know.
Right. You know, and so just that led to trying to think of some other things that, you know, alternate uses of a fleet of cars.
Right.
You know, and stuff like that. And we started to see a little business come back, but I had gotten into this habit. And so I even look at pictures of me from 3 years ago. And notice how much more attention even now I try to pay to the details. Right. Okay, see this. Now this is what I've noticed. So this is an old pair of Allen Edmonds shoes, but what started this outfit, and that's what do you see this watch?
Yes. So
that's a modded watch. That's actually a Seiko, a relatively cheap Seiko diver. That watch modding is something you would actually be phenomenal at. Okay. But you see the gold highlights in the watch?
Yeah.
So why I picked the watch, because I watched, other than the fact that I like it, was I was looking at the tie closely. You see the gold highlights? So it's black next to gold.
Okay.
So I actually sometimes will go to the detail. I don't know if anybody picks this up, but the watch has the gold accents.
Got it. Nice.
You know, so sometimes it's like on a meta level, you know, and other times there's like really fine details in it.
Right.
But picking these, but I had this watch made that way. So I don't know what made me think that. We can go back to recording or whatever, but I was going to show you that and show that that in doing like how the outfit goes together. So I don't know if you want to touch it. It's like I've noticed that from 3 years ago to 2 years ago to a year ago to even 6 months ago, I hope I'm getting better.
Right.
But I'm trying to find new details to focus in on, and you know what I mean, and elevate it, and which keeps it a challenge and keeps it fun.
Right. And I definitely think definitely for me, start with the basics. You know, like when you mentioned, can you put striped shirt with window pane? You know, if you're just getting into the sartorial game, don't start there. You know, start with the navies, the grays, and then the basic shoes, and work on those combos, and then, you know, widen and then deepen your wardrobe. But, you know, there's enough to remember with the basics, you know, and get to a year level, you know, it takes a few years, I think, you know, and it should. And I think that's the fun in it too. You know, I think if someone inherited 100 suits and 100 pairs of shoes and 100, you know, and 30 pairs of watches overnight, you know, I think you'd be pretty depressed about it 6 months later when you're bored with it all, you know.
Right.
Stretch that over a decade, you know. So yeah, no, that's cool. So
but I'm just saying that I've noticed that because I try to make it interesting. It's like, I don't want to say a game, but it's like a challenge. You know, kind of like that original challenge to like get up and do that. Now it's a challenge to see where else can I go with this.
This is the thing that drives me crazy a little bit about where I live here in Northeast Ohio. And I went to a wedding over late summer, I think it was. And I knew it was going to be a more casual wedding. I knew that, okay, because the person was a karate instructor, and I knew that they were going to get married in their karate, right, and it was at their studio, so right there, this is casual. So because of that, I backed off of the full suit thing, and I think I wore some oxblood shoes, and I still wore a suit and a dress shirt, no tie. And I'm like, so that to me was casual, right? And I was the only person, the only person with forget suit, with a sport coat on, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but like I could have shown up in, shorts and a t-shirt and it would have been perfectly fine. But it just amazes me how casual people are around here, we're talking about, should you wear, brown shoes or black shoes with a black suit? Like, they don't even know what an Oxford is. That's how like poor the standards are. And I don't say that in a derogatory manner, but part of the reason I do what I do with this channel is just to, I like to argue with somebody about whether we should be wearing an Oxford or Derby, because that means what the heck the two are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
right.
At least we're in the ballpark now. And that's what drives me bananas sometimes. Like, people, don't, if they even tried to not even dress up, but you understand what I'm saying? It's like the pajama pants in Crocs thing,
right.
They laughs at me because to go to Walmart, I'm putting dress shoes on. I'm like, no,
Yeah. Well, and what I found is, even if it's casual, you're talking about going to the wedding without the tie, but you had on a jacket.
Yeah.
And I have gone to some events, whether it's a wedding or whatever, where I know I have a lot of friends that don't dress up, so to speak. They don't wear suits and ties. But I think even with the most casual outfit, you can still pay attention to how you wear it.
Yes, I absolutely.
And so, I've got friends that wear sneakers and a t-shirt, but they're matching something on the t-shirt to the sneaker or to the socks or, whatever. And so that's when I talk about elevating things. Whatever, not everybody can wear suit and ties.
Right.
Everybody probably shouldn't wear suit and ties, but what I've found is that whatever you're wearing, it's just taking the time, and it's not that much time. It's just once you start to pay attention to kind of coordinating things or just elevating the way you wear it.
Absolutely.
I think you can do that with whether it's super casual up to, formal wear.
Right.
I've seen people in a $8,000 Brioni tuxedo that was ill-fitting and sloppy looking, and just because it's, it costs whatever the price tag is, doesn't mean it looks good.
Right.
And I think where all of this started for me was starting with things that were not expensive or that came from the thrift store or whatever, how to make that stuff still look good.
Out of pure necessity at that time, right?
Out of pure necessity. And what I found is you can't make those things. I'm wearing a 100% cashmere sweater and Peter Millar shirt, which is one of my favorite, casual shirt makers. And I've got about $18 in this whole thing.
Oh, nice.
And that's, out of necessity. I'm not a rich guy, but I like to look nice. I like to dress nice. Because it makes me feel better about myself. And like my friend David says, dressing well is good business. Right. And I have had many clients who said, the appearance, you and your team, because I preach this to my team too, it's noticeable.
Can you tell that story real quick here? Maybe last thing. I don't remember what was it. It was Brioni, but you were driving somebody who was wealthier, learned about a specific brand of suit, and then he later saw you in it and gave you like a big and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I was talking to a client of mine, asking him. I just noticed, sometimes you can, even if you don't know, you see something and it's quality.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking about what kind of suit that was, because I just looked at the material of the suit he was wearing, and the way it hung on him, the way the material looked, and he said it was Oxford. Mm-hmm. And I, of course, associated that with the school in England, mm-hmm. but he said it's spelled with 2 X's. And it's an American clothier. They make men's suits. I mean, they make I have some ties and other things, but mostly suits. And it's probably the best made American suit there is by far. I saw a recent video posted in one of the groups where somebody rated A+ down to F, the 50 top most recognized fashion brands or something, and Oxford got an A. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Whereas I think if I remember correctly, Brioni got a B.
Oh wow!
I mean, so they put it in that. Now that's someone's opinion, and other people are, and I wouldn't argue with them because I'm not that knowledgeable about the intricacies of it. But they make a darn good suit, mm-hmm. Fully canvas. It's you see the hand stitching and stuff. So I went and looked up the brand, mm-hmm. and read a little about it, and so. Course, went on a mission to find one in a thrift store.
By the way, retail.
What's that?
How much was the retail price on them?
I mean, probably. I think at the time, this is a few years ago, anywhere from 4,500 to 7,500 and up, depending on what pick cloth. An expensive suit, mm-hmm. And a lot of us say I would never pay that for a suit, and, whatever. But I whether I would or wouldn't, I couldn't. So the decision was made for me. So I went to look for one. And I don't know how many I probably passed. I mean, if I saw OXXFORD beforehand and had it, I would have probably thought that, well, that's somebody trying to mm-hmm. So it didn't. But then I was consciously looking for it. And I did. It took me a couple months, but I found one. And I think I paid $49. And so, and probably spent $120 getting it mm-hmm. tailored, $125 getting it tailored. But I wore it to an event that this client was wearing, and he came out after the event was over. He was hosting a bunch of his clients, and I had probably 8 of my team there. We had like 8 or 9 cars picking people up, taking them to various places. And I was kind of making sure everybody, and I was walking by, and he said, hey, and he came over and he said, that's a really nice suit. And then he pulled the lapel and opened it. Of course, it's the same brand or whatever. And he knows, I mean, I'm not, I'm not proud, or whatever you want to say. I'm upfront with my clients that I've become friends with. Hey, I can't go buy this stuff. I get it in thrift stores. And this particular client thinks that this is just a hoot, and he's like, you son of a gun, you know what I mean? It's like, I paid $7,000 for mine and you found this for, $49 in the thrift store. But I think the thing is, even from 15 feet away, yes, somebody that shops on Rodeo Drive or wherever, and is used to really nice things,
right,
was able to spot the quality.
Right.
And I've noticed is that I've held the cloth and watched and looked and whatever, I can spot the quality a lot better than I used to too.
It probably
it did take a long time, but it makes thrifting much more efficient.
Absolutely.
Because you got, just like you're talking about with the shell cordovan.
Yep.
I could walk into a thrift store and scan the shoe rack.
Yep.
And, I can see that pair of corrected grain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And immediately and spot something that's made really well, even if it doesn't have a name in it.
It probably took me a couple years to be able to spot what a good suit was and how a good fitting suit was. It really took a couple years.
Oh, I would say at least 3 or 4 years for me to really get to the point where how to tell what, when I was starting doing this in the late 90s, the internet wasn't
right
what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading articles and magazines and
right
looked up stuff at the library.
piecing the information together where you could get it.
Exactly. And asking people, I'm unashamed, unabashedly ask questions.
Awesome.
If I've worked a relationship, and got to know somebody and comfort with them, I'm not just saying, hey, I don't know this. Can you educate me? And understanding what canvassed, half canvassed, fully canvassed, versus fused was probably the biggest thing in understanding, because you get to where there's a little pinch test you can do to feel that horsehair canvas in between on the lapel and know if something is. And once I was taught that and read that, being able to spot how well that drapes on you and how well it's going to wear.
Mm-hmm.
I've got fully canvas suits I bought in a thrift store in 2003 that I'm still wearing.
Wow.
I mean, I have a lot of suits.
We're not just
so my rotation's probably a little bigger than,
of course.
But that's all amassed. I didn't get to that. I've been doing this a long time. I started thrifting in the 80s. I got my first pair of Allen Edmonds in 1987 in a thrift store in Elizabethton, Tennessee.
And did you tell me from the previous conversation, you didn't know what they were?
No.
You didn't seek out the Allen Edmonds. You just happened to get them, but they quickly became your favorite shoes and outlasted the other ones, right?
Correct. Because Johnston Murphy was the brand I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was kind of the pinnacle. I'd never even heard of Alden at that time. So I thought Johnston Murphy was the pinnacle of American shoemaking. And in the 80s,
they were,
to give them credit, Johnston Murphy made a very good shoe. But they were starting a decline, late 80s, whatever. Florsham had started their decline in the 80s. I mean, you see the quality, whatever. And I don't know if this is urban myth or legend, but what I've heard is that Allen Edmonds stepped up their game while the others were doing that, which is why they call that 82 to 2000, whatever, you hear people refer to it as the golden age of Allen Edmonds. I've seen that phrase in there. And, I wore on the post I made Sunday, I put a pair of 1990 Allen Edmonds against a pair of 2014 Edward Green.
Ooh.
Now we're talking about $1,200 difference in today's retail, $400 versus $1,600. There's not $1,200 of noticeable difference in how well the shoes were made.
Wow.
I mean, the quality was, and I'm not going to get into the, yes, there've been a few QC issues, and we're in a global pandemic, and I'm not excusing it, or I'm not getting into that. Or I just say in 1990, it was as good a shoe as you could find without really going into, a crazy level of whatever. But I got a pair of 1986 Allen Edmonds. Oh, it's not a McAllister. It's actually another forelast short wing. Fairhaven, I think, were the first pair I ever had. And I got them in the thrift store. I think I paid $5 for them because I wanted to get 2 pairs. And this little shoe store that was in Elizabeth, and it was a used secondhand store, and there was a deal if you bought, they were $8, but if you got 2, they were right. And so I bought a pair of Johnston and Murphy and a pair of Allen Edmonds. And my assumption was the Allen Edmonds were the inferior shoe, but it turned out they lasted longer.
Interesting.
And they fit me better. And I found out I actually have to go like up a half size and down a width in some of the Johnston Murphy last. The Allen Edmonds last, and that's another reason I like them. I found the last that really fit me well.
Yeah.
But those shoes lasted me through college. I was a freshman in college, through college, grad school, and on into career. So that's when I was like, hey, and then I read a little bit and heard, oh no, that's legit. That's a legit brand. They may be better than Johnston Murphy. And then you're obviously getting into opinions. but I realized that they were nothing to seize at. But that was my introduction to the brand, first time I bought.
Wow. That's so
And
cool.
then, of course, made a goal is one day when I save enough money, I'm going to buy a pair of new pair.
Yeah, and that's what I enjoy about talking about some of this stuff with you, because I think you see things like I do. I like the quality, not like I've always said this. If you go out to the normal public outside of an Allen Edmonds enthusiast group and you tell them I wear Allen Edmonds, 98% of the people out there don't know what that is.
Right.
They don't care. It's not like when you buy a Gucci shoe or something like that. It's quality, and you're getting a quality thing.
Right.
Like this dress shirt. It's a Brooks Brothers dress shirt. Thrifted, right? $89 dress shirt or whatever. It feels awesome. The fabric, the way it lays, and it's just beautiful. It's quality for quality, not for the brand.
Right. No, and absolutely. And most, frankly, a lot of my friends wouldn't. I mean, they probably heard me mention it because I'm a fanboy. There's that's no secret. And I love Alden too. I don't want to even make this complete about. I mean, my friend, I mentioned Matthew Gray and Jim Petreka. Those guys are two of the best guys anywhere. They don't work for Alden. They work, their shop, but they rep Alden shoes. But Alden's a phenomenal shoe as well.
Yeah.
It's a higher price point than Allen Edmonds.
Right. And I don't think they really put their stuff on sale much, from my understanding, right?
Very, very rarely. Very rarely. But they do have some things that nobody else has.
Mm-hmm.
They do suede and shell as good as anybody does. And I've gotten a lot of them just because they're such great guys. Mm-hmm. And again, customer service is something that's important to me, and you build relationships.
Right.
And if I'm going to buy a pair of Alden shoes, it's going to be from Matt and Jim. It's just, and it's the same way, there's some great Allen Edmonds customer service people I hear about at this or whatever. I have a couple stores that I've done business with, and I've developed a relationship, and that's where I buy my shoes.
Wow.
Just because that's the thing. And by the way, while we're on that topic though, our friend Jim has had some health concerns or whatever. So just want to say, I absolutely wish the best to him.
Absolutely.
Jim Petreka is one of the best people, human beings you're going to find, but he's also a guy that taught me an immense amount about what I know about Allen Edmonds and Alden and just vintage shoes in general, because the guy's a walking encyclopedia of that stuff.
Wow.
So great guy. Best to you, Jim. Love you, man.
Absolutely. I know. I mean, I've seen him post. I know of him. I can't say I know him, but he does seem like a great, and other people that know him seem to say the same thing too. So.
Oh, and I mean, to this day, I see something old and vintage. I don't really know about it. I send a message to Jim, and get the load. Because there's a few of these guys that just have. Jim's been in the business a long, long time, and managed an Allen Edmonds store before he went to work for an Alden retailer. So that's another thing is, through these groups, for people that haven't joined these, I have to manage my time in them, because I could spend hours scrolling, because there is a lot of interesting stuff. But I've also just, my exponential, like light year warp speed knowledge growth from when you had to like look it up in a magazine or try to find it in the library, the internet, and then these groups where it's kind of the focus and people share information and, for the most part in a pretty civil and gentlemanly manner.
For the most part, yeah. So at the point that we're wrapping this up here, Russ, I want to thank you so much. I have no idea how I'm going to edit this, or how long and or how many, pieces it's going to become. But I really feel like a better person, when I talk with both times I've talked with you here, I'm really glad I got to know you better here. And I hope you guys, especially the younger people in this group, be patient, and I think, you want to make sure that you're patiently impatient is maybe what I'm trying to say. In other words, like you said, you can learn things quickly, but you don't have to, so have that and realize that we're playing a long game here. I don't know if you want to make any closing remarks. How about this? If you could talk to you 30 years ago, what would you have to say to yourself? Sartorial.
Actually, Bob, I'd probably say some of what you just said was I made a lot of mistakes, costly mistakes. You can make a lot of $4 thrift store mistakes that add up to $40 or $100. And I was impatient a lot, trying to do it all at once. And I've learned to be more selective with that over the years.
Right.
Bought quality.
Right.
Not something that, that has the look of what's popular. But then it wasn't, $2 is still $2, and $2 piece of garbage is still a $2 piece of garbage. So I learned to be a little more patient and to collect with some purpose.
Right.
You know, I still get things that just attract me. You know, our friend John, the Wisconsin shoe guy, has a very methodical approach to his collection, and mine's a little more emotional at times. I see something I like. Yeah, I have that in burgundy, and yeah, I have it in blue, but there it is in walnut, and I just love that. So, you know, that's so, you know, but also, you know, do what makes you feel good about yourself.
Right.
You don't have to bend to anybody's rules. I mean, I break a lot of them, and you know, I try to like forge my own style. I find people that are mentors to me. Like, I've watched the way they dress and how they look, and I ask them questions.
Right.
And then I try things, and some things I've tried, I look back on it and go, that was hideous, but I tried. You know, and there's some uncomfortability at times moving out of a comfort zone.
Right.
But you know, I think following that passion and what gives you energy and makes you feel good and makes you feel better about yourself.
Right.
I think it's worthwhile. And on that subject, I mean, I want to thank you for having me on your channel. I've been a fan for a long time. And one of the things that's always impressed me about you is, you know, your day job isn't mechanic or cobbler or watch repairman, but you know, you try those things, and that's something I've done that with fashion at times, to tinker and whatever, but I've never done that with, you know, I don't try to fix my own watches or shoes or whatever. So that's something that I'm really, you know, I'm trying to make myself in the future, maybe do a little more of that. You inspire me to do that. Hey, this guy can go and resold his own purse. I mean, I remember the Toppy video, and the fact that you said, hey, I got this wrong. And I had to do it again. Remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Right. When I saw that, I was like, I like that guy.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Because you know what I mean? I made a mistake. I'm not trying to edit it out. I'm compressing it for the sake of time. But you know, I had to try it over again.
One of my buddies, I got one of my friends who's not into shoes or watches, you know, and I didn't think he watched my stuff, and he says, "Oh, I liked your watch video." I'm like, "I didn't think you watched my channel," you know. He goes, "Yeah, you know," and I knew he watched it. He goes, "My favorite part was when you launched that, you know, spring and lost it." You know, and I was installing that little ping, and it's like, it's gone. And I spent an hour and a half looking for it, and it's gone, you know.
Yeah. But I think that's great that we do things, because that's, you know, we try something, and I was scared to death to post for the first time.
Wow.
You know, because just, you know, I've never done anything, never done anything public before, you know, but, and it kind of got a life of its own.
And you just, that little decision though, you know, I mean, how many, you know, people did it touch or help or improve? And I don't know if it's bad to admit this, but even without this, you know, knowing that I was going to do this with you and YouTube, I have snapshotted multiple things of your, you know, your posts, just because I wanted to emulate that or understand it or digest it more. It says, you know what, I'm going to do something like that with a wardrobe next week. You know, and I've snapshotted multiple, you know, of your posts, because I was like,
and just to add that to what I would say to myself 30 years ago is, you can also work with what you have.
Yes.
You know, I don't have to go out and have 500 pairs of shoes or 50 suits or watches or whatever. You know, it's like something, but just the confidence.
It's a great example. I put all that time into learning, and it's in what we call non-prime time. My wife at 10:30 at night is in bed. I'm usually up till midnight or 1. So I got a couple, 3 hours after the kids are in bed of my own time, rather than watching YouTube or, you know, well, I guess I learned about this on YouTube, but, you know, I'm saying, rather than watching Netflix, all of that effort was so that I could put together one more piece of an outfit, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. And then it just becomes kind of second nature. And, you know, you can, for less than $20, change that strap.
Right. Right.
and then have a couple. I mean, the other day I changed the strap on a watch in 3 minutes
That's
because
cool.
I had one that matched the shoes. It's actually a hatch grain, and I had a hatch grain or Russian hatch grain strap, and it like dawned on me, and it's just running. You know, there's a little tool you can buy for $2, and to me, but now, I mean, me 30 years ago, I would have walked out, and not that there's anything wrong with that, with a black strap and a pair of brown hatch grain shoes. But I thought to myself, it'll only take me 2 minutes to do that.
I love it.
And it will that much. And you know what? Maybe nobody noticed all day long, but I did.
Right. Right.
That's what I would do. And I would tell you, I mentioned this earlier, you should look at watch modding.
Yes.
Because that's what another thing I've noticed that people are doing is like taking a watch, changing the dial, putting a different bezel insert. Those are, you know, that's about as far as I can go into it. But I've learned from these guys, and you make what you want.
Oh, yeah, yes. DIY Watch Club is a good YouTube channel for that stuff.
Oh, really? Yeah, I haven't looked at that, but I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, DIY Watch Club. Yeah.
Well, and the group we started, which I think you're in, me and some friends started a Facebook group called DIY Sartorial.
Okay.
And the whole kind of ethos behind that was to try to build it, you know what I mean? Build our own style.
Right.
From the ground up, and ask questions. And that's what we do.
Right.
And I find it fun. So anyway, I really appreciate it. I'm honored and humbled that you would have me on your channel. And
yeah.
So, and it's great. And now, you know, it's like I just have another friend now in Ohio, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Like this network. And I just think that's the coolest thing out of all this. That I get from all that.
Yep. So, wow. So you never know who you're going to inspire, motivate, you know what I mean? Or uplift someday. And I think that's maybe the last thing I'll leave people with is this is definitely planting seed. Like you said, you know, may not have anybody noticed that brown strap, you know, blah, 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 you know, at that moment, but you build kind of a reputation for yourself, you know, and that for sure will get you places, you know. So I hope it inspires some people. I hope it helps them step their game up here that are trying to, you know, be better, look better, feel better about themselves, and, you know, make this world a better place a little bit at a time. So.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, go to my YouTube page, Robert Powers, and then click on playlists. And from there, you can go to things such as before and after videos, where you'll find a whole list of videos similar to this one.